What is going on, baseball fans? Jeremy Laracuente here for the Baseball Banter Broadcast. And before we get into today's video, stay tuned to the end. We got some big news about the Baseball Banter Broadcast channel and some big things that are happening for us here. So make sure you stay tuned to the end to hear all those details. Now, as we get into today's video, I just want to make it very, very clear that the free agency, the upcoming free agency market is going to be a very big one for shortstops. But even bigger now because Carlos Correa has decided he's going to opt out of his deal with the Minnesota Twins. And this brings back feelings of what I had prior to the 2022 season. And the simple fact is that this is one of the best players that will be available regardless of position, but even more so in the shortstop position. So today's video, we're going to be looking at 3 reasons why I am interested in the New York Yankees signing Carlos Correa. So let's get into reason number 1. Now, that first reason is that Carlos Correa is going to be a player that has a chip on his shoulder. The attitude that he plays the game with really brings out an intensity in himself and in his teammates. And I think that there's going to be a big difference when you look at what kind of intensity level the New York Yankees have had over the last several seasons. Now, 2022 has been a different type of year so far. This is actually being recorded before Game 2 of the ALDS against the Cleveland Guardians. But when you look at what this team has been, to me, Carlos Correa is a player that brings an air, an attitude about him that is hungry to win. And we've already seen kind of a little bit of a controversial player in terms of attitude, and that is Josh Donaldson. And where I think that Correa and Donaldson differ is that Correa, by his peers, isn't really seen the same way as Josh Donaldson. And I think that when you look at what that can be for a clubhouse, they've been able to go through this whole season, as the New York Yankees have, with Donaldson in that clubhouse, kind of bringing up and stirring up some things throughout the season. We haven't heard those same things about Carlos Correa from the teams that he has been a part of. Houston absolutely loved him, and now with Minnesota, there hasn't been any issues as well. So I think bringing in a guy like Carlos Correa that has an attitude about him, that has a brashness about him, can really help the New York Yankees kind of get back to some things that they were in the past. So for me, bringing in a guy like Carlos Correa brings in a different kind of attitude, a hunger, and a feeling of this is a winning pedigree type of a player. This is a player that has a World Series ring, tainted or not, however you want to see it. This is a player that brings a absolute passion for the sport, for the game of Major League Baseball. And in my opinion, the Yankees could use more of that. So that's reason number 1 that I want Carlos Correa. Now, number 2, and we kind of glossed over this fact, but this is a very great player, both offensively and defensively. Now, when the shortstop market was still being decided upon last offseason before the lockout began, Carlos Correa and Corey Seager were the 2 prime shortstops that were being discussed. And we actually had a video here, my Yankee offseason plans from the previous season, 2021-2022 offseason, going into this new campaign. And we discussed it, Corey Seager and Carlos Correa. And the thing about Correa for me is that he is a very good defensive player, has an absolute cannon for an arm, has now proven that he's able to be healthy for the most part, and he's an offensive juggernaut. You add that type of a bat into your lineup, and now you have a serious threat in and out of your lineup all the time. No matter what spot you're looking at for the Yankees, there's no real weakness when you add a player like Carlos Correa. Right now, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa is kind of, a gift and a curse right now. Yes, he gives the Yankees an opportunity to have a player that is versatile, capable of playing multiple positions, even playing catcher in a dangerous situation. If the Yankees are out of catchers, Isaiah can go back behind the plate. not something that he's unfamiliar with. But that versatility doesn't bring about the most confidence right now. We would see in game 1 of the ALDS against the Cleveland Guardians a very routine play that IKF would botch, and we weren't able to get an out on it. With Correa, you don't have those same fears when a ball is hit to him at shortstop. Is he going to be the most amazing glove you've ever seen? No. But this is going to be a very Gold Glove caliber-esque player, in my opinion. You also add in the fact that this is a player capable of hitting you 20, 25, 30 home runs in a season. And given the dimensions of Yankee Stadium, he would be able to start taking advantage even more so of the opposite field with the short porch and right field. And I think that that type of a player can truly help bring about a change in the Yankees lineup. Right now, the bottom half of the Yankees order has been a question all season long, with IKF, with Donaldson having struggled for the most part of the season, with Trevino having kind of regressed back a little bit in the second half. You know, Higgy is what he is. He's going to hit some bombs, but he's also going to hit for a low average. So if you can bring in a guy to play shortstop where you can then maybe transition IKF into more of a bench role, you now have yourself a much better situation overall in your lineup and deepen and lengthen that lineup. So being able to have a guy like Carlos Correa on the New York Yankees, to me, is a very solid fit. Now, as we look at the third and final reason, and arguably, in my opinion, one of the most important reasons, is that by bringing Carlos Correa onto the New York Yankees, it once again makes them the villain. If you've been following this channel for any length of time, and you know last offseason when I made the video about the Yankees offseason, my rant video about them, and I made it very clear that the Yankees needed to get back to having that air of arrogance, that brashness, that villainous nature to them once again. When the Yankees are at their best, they are the villains of Major League Baseball. People love to hate the New York Yankees. And the thing is that the Yankees have been very nice over the last several seasons. They have a very fun-loving manager in Aaron Boone. Aaron Judge is the epitome of the nicest man in the world. But this team as a whole needs an air of villainous nature. They need to be able to be seen as the bad guys of baseball. And in order to do that, you have to have some players that are going to be outspoken, that they're going to have to be the type of players that really start to wear on other players, that they speak out, that they speak up for their team. And we saw how Carlos Correa would speak up for Jose Altuve's benefit. And we know that he was the most vocal about all the situation that went down with the Astros in 2017 and the sign stealing scandal. But the simple fact is that when you bring in a player like that already has people that root against him, you make the Yankees, who are a team that people love to hate, the villains of baseball. And with playing with that type of aggression, with that type of your back against the wall nature, the Yankees are at their best. So for me, bringing in a guy like Carlos Correa makes the Yankees the villain of baseball, and it makes them hungry to be able to prove everyone, like, no matter how much you hate us, no matter how much you dislike what we do and who we are, we're the best. And for me, being able to bring in a guy like Correa makes that happen for the New York Yankees. So I definitely think that for the Yankees, a guy like Carlos Correa, and yes, let's just, talk about the elephant in the room. Anthony Volpe is going to be a very good player. This has been the key player that is on the Yankees front office, the forefront of their mind. They're not willing to part with him in any kind of deal. This is the player that they most actively are trying to bring up as the next face of the franchise. And that's all well and good. At best, at his very best, Anthony Volpe could turn into Carlos Correa. So why not bring in the young veteran that he is at 28 years old, Carlos Correa? Because if you look at it this way, You then, and yes, Volpe is pushing his way through the minor leagues at a rapid pace, a very rapid pace. And he will be up in the majors sooner than later. But at the same time, we've already seen Correa in the WBC be able to handle third base. Right now, you don't have a third baseman that I'd really want to keep long-term in Josh Donaldson. So why not bring in Carlos Correa as the shortstop? And if you feel that Volpe is the better shortstop, you transition him over to third base. It becomes the Alex Rodriguez. Being able to have Correa gives you so many versatile options in terms of what you're capable of doing on the defensive side of the ball, as well as offensively for your lineup, deepening it. And the thing is that when you look at what this roster can be, when you add a player like Carlos Correa, it makes it that much better. But I want to hear from you guys. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings down in the comments section below. Yankee fans, let me know your feelings about Carlos Correa. I know that this can be a controversial player, a player that half, it seems like, of the Yankee fan base loves him and wants him on the team, and the other half doesn't want anything to do with him. But as I alluded to in the beginning of this video, there are some new things happening here with the Baseball Banter Broadcast. We now have a partnership with Lids. So if you check down in the show notes below, we have a link to our to Lids. With the promo code LIDS25, you can save 25% off your order at lids.com. So just click the link down in the show notes in the bio, the description below, and you can save yourself 25% off of your lids.com order. So anything off the site, no matter what it is, you can get 25% off your order. Some exclusions do apply. But again, let me know your feelings, Yankee fans. Check down in the show notes below to be able to get that link to lids.com. And keep it locked into the entire JLMG family with We Sibs, the Granny Geek Show, and of course here on the Baseball Banter Broadcast by hitting the subscribe button on all 3 channels, and stick around all season long as we continue to look throughout the course of this postseason and this upcoming offseason at the latest news, notes, and my personal thoughts, theories, and opinions on the game of Major League Baseball. Peace.